What is going on, football fans? I am back at it with another New York Giants video as rookies are set to report to training camp tomorrow on Monday. Now, of course, training camp won't fully start until Wednesday, but Daniel Jones will be arriving in camp by tomorrow. He does not have a contract yet, but I expect that to be sewed up very soon. And what I wanted to do in this video was talk about some of the training camp battles. And in this video, we are going to talk about Eli Manning versus Daniel Jones. Now, most people, myself included, don't think this is much of a battle, but there are a lot of people that think Daniel Jones legitimately has a chance. Of course, Pat Shurmur has been on record of saying that the best player is going to play. The team that gives the player that gives the team the best chance to win. And if Daniel Jones goes out there and has an unbelievable training camp, an unbelievable preseason, off the fact that he impressed as much as he did in OTAs and mandatory minicamps, and Eli Manning does not play that well, maybe there is a slight opening. I still think Eli's the guy. I think they're paying Eli Manning $23 million for a reason. I think they brought him back so Daniel Jones could learn under him. But anything is possible. Last year, you would have thought the same thing with the New York Jets. Granted, that was a completely different situation. They did not have a quarterback that had played 15 years for the franchise that had won them 2 Super Bowls. McCown had a pretty good year the year before. Teddy Bridgewater was coming off an injury. But most people thought one of them would win the starting job and Darnold would sit on the bench at least for the first 3 or 4 or 5 games. Darnold ended up starting day 1 because he was the best quarterback in camp. And the question is if Daniel Jones is the best quarterback in camp. And we're going to know. If he goes out there and lights it up in preseason and you get the reports at camp that he looks great, pressure will be put on Eli Manning. Now, like I said, I expect Eli to be the guy regardless. However, if Eli Manning does not look that great early on in the year and Daniel Jones looked great in preseason, 2-3 games into the year, there is going to be a ton of pressure from this fan base to replace Eli Manning with Daniel Jones. And that could be a good thing for both the Giants and Eli Manning, because I think Eli Manning could use a fire under his butt. Eli Manning has had no pressure at the position since 2004 when he was drafted. Of course, Kurt Warner started the first half of the year. Eli Manning came in, and since then, he's been the guy. There's been no challenger. I don't look at I don't look at a guy like a Geno Smith as a realistic challenger, a Davis Webb. They have not had a guy that could potentially supplant him. Now that they took Daniel Jones with the 6th overall selection, that is no longer the case. Now, myself, and a lot of other Giants YouTubers and people in the media were not happy when the Giants took Daniel Jones at 6th overall. And I think you probably remember Bad Dog and myself's reaction on draft night.
The New York Giants just took Daniel Jones over Josh Allen!
No way!
But with that being said, I have come around a bit to Daniel Jones. Now, I never hated Daniel Jones. I hated the pick. I wanted Josh Allen at 6. I would have been completely fine with Daniel Jones at 17. There have been reports that have come out that said that there were 2 or 3 teams interested as recently as 2 days ago in Jones before the Giants would have picked at 17. But even if that were the case, the Giants could have potentially traded up. Regardless, we still got 2 very good players, in my opinion, early in the draft, being Daniel Jones and Dexter Lawrence. We also got DeAndre Baker at number 30. So if Daniel Jones pans out and proves he could be an NFL quarterback at a pretty high level, we're all going to forget about it because quarterback is the most valuable position. And Daniel Jones is being set up for success. That is all I could say. He is learning under the perfect guy to learn under in Eli Manning. And he's getting set up with a good foundation. The Giants have improved the offensive line, which I think will help both Eli Manning and Daniel Jones if and when he supplants Eli. Last year, the offensive line did take a step forward. They ranked 21st, which is not good. It's still in the bottom third of the league. But it's a big step up. This is a team that's usually ranked 28th, 29th, or 30th over the last 5 or 6 years. With the addition of Will Hernandez last year and Nate Solder, the left side got so much better in that second half of the year, and you saw the running game take off because of it. It also helped Eli Manning out tremendously. Eli Manning, the second half of the year, only threw 4 picks in his last 8 games. That includes games against great defenses like the Dallas Cowboys, the Chicago Bears. He went up against the tough Colts team in Indianapolis, the Eagles. So Eli Manning looked much better in the second half. He looked much more efficient because they had a run game, because they had a play-action pass. And I will also throw in the point that they didn't have Odell Beckham for 4 of those 8 games. Now, with the addition of Golden Tate, with the addition of Zeitler on the offensive line, that should help Barkley, which in turn should help the passing game and Eli Manning. But at the end of the day, if the Giants are not winning football games, regardless of how Eli Manning is playing, I expect Daniel Jones to be the quarterback at some point this year. However, I do think it is very valuable to get some reps on the bench, to learn under Eli, to read the playbook. to learn the pro game, because that is the aspect where Eli has him. And that's just common sense. Eli Manning's been in this league for 15 years, and he's played the position at a very high level. Regardless of what people say about him, he's won 2 Super Bowls. Okay, he's a very good NFL quarterback. He knows how to read defenses. He knows how to make adjustments at the line of scrimmage. And yes, the pundits will say Daniel Jones can't learn that unless he plays. And you're absolutely right. But it could still do him some value learning on the bench. Look at the 2 best quarterbacks in the league as far as I'm concerned. Pat Mahomes did not play till week 17 his rookie year under Alex Smith. And that's only because the Chiefs were already in the playoffs. And they were resting Smith for the postseason. Aaron Rodgers did not play his first 2 years in the league. So I think it is valuable for a quarterback to learn under a trained professional. And there's nobody better to learn under than Eli Manning. Now, when you look at Daniel Jones, the strengths he has over Eli, you start with the athleticism. When you look at him on film, his RPOs are ridiculous. I mean, that will be an added element to this offense. There's no doubt about it. With him and Saquon Barkley running that RPO, that can be dangerous. He possesses 4.6 speed. Eli Manning never possessed that. He had about 5 speed at the 5.0 speed at the 40 at the combine. This guy is much quicker. He's much more athletic. He can throw on the run. His arm strength, however, coming into the league is definitely not up to par with an Eli Manning. Eli Manning, in his heyday, had one of the best arms in the NFL. He threw a beautiful deep ball. I never expect that from Daniel Jones. His arm strength may be somewhat underrated, and he may possess average arm strength. His ability to run and his smarts will be Daniel Jones' biggest strengths. They also both learned under the same coach in college. That, of course, being David Cutcliffe. Cutcliffe coached both Eli and Peyton, and now coach Daniel Jones. So they had the same tutor. There's nobody better for Daniel Jones to learn under than Eli Manning. I mean, they both were brought up by the same college coach. They've talked to each other in the past. Eli Manning's gone to Duke and taught him some things. So they have a very good relationship. I don't expect anything unhealthy in the locker room. I expect this to be a very smooth transition. And hopefully Daniel Jones can take the reins and run with it and be our quarterback for the next 15 years before we have to find somebody else. But I'm really looking forward to training camp. I'm really looking forward to the strengths in this kid. Now, a lot of people, and I see a lot of YouTubers. I see Nitro Freak. I've seen Eagles YouTubers point out the fact, Lord Brunson's another one. He says he's a 0-star recruit. He sucks. I see Nitro Freak saying he threw 22 touchdowns, 9 picks, mediocre numbers. Yeah, the numbers aren't great. 22 touchdowns, 9 picks in college isn't great if you play for Michigan. Isn't great if you play for a powerhouse. But when you play for Duke in the ACC, you have to factor in the surrounding parts. And this guy last year, 22 touchdowns, 9 picks with a 60.5 completion percentage, and he threw for 2,674 yards. Throughout his 3-year career at Duke, he rushed for over 1,300 yards and had 17 rushing touchdowns, of course displaying that above-average athleticism that we talked about. Now, why was his completion percentage 10 points lower than Dwayne Haskins? Was it because he's that much worse, or was it because Dwayne Haskins had the best offensive line the sport had to offer, and he had 2 NFL wide receivers on his team, one being Paris Campbell, who led the entire country in yak yards and a lot of screen passes? Could that be part of the problem? I think it is, and I'm not saying Daniel Jones is as good as Haskins. I'm still a Haskins guy, but Daniel Jones' stats are misleading. When you have one of the worst offensive linemen in the lines, collectively in the country, okay, for a Power 5 conference, you play in the ACC, the fact that he was able to get Duke a winning record is ridiculous. That team was horrible. They dropped 38 balls, and when you look at the film, it's disgusting. They dropped ball after ball after ball, touchdown after touchdown after touchdown. So Daniel Jones was given no support in college. That's why stats mean nothing to me when it comes to college football, especially when you play for a team like the Duke Blue Devils. Now, Duke, over the course of their history, have had 12 NFL quarterbacks, and most of them have failed. We know that as Giants fans. Dave Brown was a complete bust, I believe, in 93 or 94 when the Giants got him out of Duke, and he actually wore the same number 17, so that's not the best of omens. Same number, same school, didn't really work out. Giants wasted a pick on him. That being said, Duke has had some success throughout the NFL. 2 of their 12 quarterbacks that have played in the league had good careers. Now, you got to go all the way back to 1940 for Ace Parker. He won the NFL MVP in 1940. Now, a more recent guy, being Sonny Jurgensen, actually made the Hall of Fame and retired in 1974, and is credited with being one of the people that is a big reason why the NFL was able to adjust from a running game to a pass-first game. He had a great career and kind of was ahead of his time. Now, none of that has to do with Daniel Jones, other than the fact that they went to the same school. At the end of the day, it's going to come down to the supporting cast the Giants can provide him with. Because do I expect this guy to be a guy that could put the team on his back? No. But do I expect him to be like 95% of the quarterbacks in this league, where if you surround him with the proper talent, he can get the job done with his smarts, with his athleticism? Yes. Every quarterback, when you look at it, it's very hard to do it by yourself. Tom Brady had the greatest coach in the history of football. Joe Montana had one of the greatest coaches in the history of football. They had great players around them. Jerry Rice, you go down the list, great offensive lines. Randy Moss, Wes Welker for Tom Brady, and of course Bill Belichick helped him out tremendously. A lot of having success at the quarterback position in the NFL has to do with the talent around you and the coaches that are able to set you up to succeed with the system they put in place. And I think Daniel Jones will do well. The one thing I worry about a little bit, I think the Giants last year played much better from under center. Jones took all of his snaps out of the shotgun, so that will be a bit of an adjustment if the Giants decide to line it up under center. But he's going to have a lot of time to learn because I think Eli will be the starter day one. I'm looking forward to training camp. I'm looking forward to preseason to get a good eye on this kid to see if there is any chance at all that he could supplant Eli Manning before the season starts. I do not expect it, but you never know. I think Eli's the guy, and hopefully Eli could surprise some people this year. But we're going to have to wait and see. I think it could do Daniel Jones a world of good to sit underneath Eli at least for half a season. But as always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe. Drop a comment. Maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.